Good morning, friends. Thanks for being here this morning. This is Journey Home Meditation, and you're here at the morning sit. Yeah. And I am happy to be here. It's funny, I could just pre-record a little intro, I suppose, because I tend to say pretty much the same thing each morning as we're settling in with the opening music. I don't really talk about the opening music much, but the opening music comes from a group that I found on Bandcamp called Music for Deep Relaxation, and I was able to contact the creator of the music and purchase their discography, and they allowed me to use it royalty-free on the show, and that's the one piece that I really liked for the intro to the morning sit. I know how terribly interesting all of this really is. But that said, I am happy to be here today. I'm not just repeating it each morning because it's somehow revolutionary or an extremely clever thing to say. But it's also not just a platitude. The ability to recognize in myself when I am feeling joy to do something it wasn't something that was extremely easy for me to do. I think that for a long time it was easier to recognize anger or sadness or disappointment or fear, scarcity. But to feel when I am experiencing just joy, this bliss to be in the moment, without having a fear that the next shoe is going to drop, right? Like that, because I started to learn and understand that, yes, it is temporary, because every bit of it is temporary, right? There's none of these feelings that are going to last. They come and they go. They're a part of this well of possibilities, of experiences. I think I need to make a little bit of an adjustment here. There we go. And because they are temporary, I used to believe that meant that they weren't real. They were fleeting, right? That, yeah, okay, so I'm happy now for just a minute, but it's not real. It's not going to last. Or I'm in love right now, but that's going to come to an end. And so we have this kind of disposable view of our relationships and our relationship to the world as a whole. It feels disposable when we are raised with this belief of permanence, right? Object permanence. I'll love you forever. And we know that means romantic love, and we know that that's not real. Not that romantic love's not real, it's real, but it's not real that it's going to necessarily last forever. I mean, how many relationships have you had in your life that have come to an end, that when you're in the throes of feeling that greatness, you make these professions of like, yes, this is forever. But maybe it's okay that it's not. Maybe it's okay to say, hey, I'm going to love you as much as I can right now because I know this isn't forever. I know that I'm changing and you're changing and our circumstances are always changing. And that's not just for romantic love, that's for all types of relationships. But that doesn't mean that the love underneath all of the pretext of romance or bromance or whatever it is not forever, because that can be, right? We can allow ourselves the reality that love is something that's deeper because it comes from a deeper part of who I am. Right? We've talked about on this morning sit the often the Eastern concepts of I am not this body, I am not this mind, right? And even in the Christian concepts of I'm not of this world, all of these things, that's approaching or talking about a specific layer of our consciousness, right? So like there's a layer of my consciousness that is not this body. So I guess to quickly recap that, it's that my body is changing all the time. So if I were my body, I would have gone away 1,000 times a day by now, right? As this body falls apart, as this body shifts and change. And the same can be said for the mind. As my thoughts and my thought processes and my perspectives of the world shift and change. I don't have the same mind or the same body that I had when I was 9, but there is a part of me that is still here, that's been here through all of it, right? There's a consciousness, a deeper layer of existence of who I am that's deeper than that. And it's from that place that we experience love. And by love, I think I mean recognition of one another and familiarity with one another, even beyond our personalities, beyond our, meeting someone and oh, what are you interested in? Oh, what are you interested in? It's almost like, you ever watch children who learn from us how to behave? When I say us, learn from adults, from people older than them, how to function in the world. Will you ever see them play? You ever pay attention when children are playing and you listen to the stories they're creating, and they'll be playing with each other, and then one child will say, well, I've got wings and I can fly. And another child will be like, well, I've got special laser eyes and I can see through the moon. And whatever it is, they profess to each other what they want the other to pretend for them right now, right? This is how the game is going to work, is you have to understand that I have these things. I have these qualities and I can do these special things, right? I'm bulletproof. And if you don't pretend that, then the game doesn't work and it's not any fun. So we'll just agree to pretend for each other. And that's how kids play. And I really don't see much of a difference as we get older, except we start to gather evidence to prove our place, right? We gather all the evidence to say that, well, I am a doctor. Well, I can show you because of the certificates. And that means that I have all of this specialized information and knowledge. And again, I'm not bringing down people that have special knowledge or education or doctors, but it's just funny how it's a continuation of the same thing. Well, I am a spiritual man. I'm very spiritual. I'm super spiritual. My poop floats because it is super spiritual poop. Whatever it is, whatever it is, we need to convince ourselves that this layer of existence is the most real. This is the most real. And we do that internally more than anything, right? Our internal dialogue or monologue usually it's a dialogue because of all the different parts of ourselves, you know, clashing with each other, and they go back and forth inside of our heads. At least mine do. I don't know if yours does, but I'm assuming that if mine does, then yours might. Um, and it would be more reductionist than any of those nuanced identities that we need to have each other pretend that we are so that we can be them, you know. And it starts with things like, boys play with this, girls play with that. You're a boy or you're a girl. Well, what is that? I mean, we want to say that we want to gather this evidence, so this is biology. Well, that doesn't line up. Even all of the scientific evidence that one wants to gather to defend their perspective, to shut out somebody else's experience of their reality, doesn't line up. And that's not to say that none of this is real. It's to say that the level of realness is reified. It becomes a thing because we want it to so desperately. And I'm mostly pointing to this not to give a philosophy of existence, but to just explore my internal landscape, my internal way of being. Am I who I think I am? Because I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of different thoughts about who I am, and it changes from moment to moment. So if I am who I think I am, which one of those ams am I? Am I the am that is a caring, loving, kind, and competent person in a relationship? Am I the am that is self-centered and narcissistic and completely ignorant of other people's feelings and experiences? Am I the am that I can't even think of examples right now, but I think you know the point that I'm getting to is I have all these ams that I am in my mind, right? I am too fat. I am too weak. I am too short. I am too tall. I am not enough of this. I am too much of that. I am the best at this thing. I am the worst at this other thing. I'm the most humble. I am the least competitive. Those are favorites. But we have these ways of gathering evidence to inform a bias of who we think we are. And we do it with each other as well. And it makes me think about children on a playground. Because at a certain point, they just drop it. And it's not a problem. It's completely agreed upon and celebrated without even talking about it, that the moment that I decide I'm not that thing anymore, I'm this other thing, then we're all going to agree to uphold that bargain with each other. And that's what's going to make the game fun. Right? And I can hear the voice in my head that may be the voice in your head that's saying, yeah, but life's not a game. It's easy for kids, but I've got work, I've got bills, I've got to put on a smiling face for my boss or for my clients. I've got to pretend I like digging through this garbage pile of, wasted paper and plastic products every day just to go buy more at the store so that we make sure we have enough on hand for everybody else that wants to come in and dig through piles of future trash. So I can't just pretend. I've got to go spend money today. That means I have to make money. So I can't just pretend that there's this thing out there that lets me get things that I need, right? We're all still playing a much larger game of pretend. And the difference is we've stopped agreeing to just let it go when it's time to let it go. At some point, we make the decision. Somebody says to us, well, you're not a child anymore. You're going to have to decide who you're going to be in the world. And then that's it. 13, 14, 16, 21, whatever it was when you were told that definitively, that's it for the rest of your life. 40 years, 60 years, the next 70 years, 80 years, whatever it is. That's what you're going to be. So you better get on it. And we're going to teach you this one thing in school. You're going to go to school for this one thing, and then you're going to be a specialist, and then you're going to be that thing. And that's it. That's your thing. I've never been good at that. I've never been good at being the thing. I can be like the greatest example of the thing for a short time, you know. So I'm not just a kid who likes punk music. I have a mohawk and plaid pants and spikes. I'm not just a kid who likes, 50s greaser style. I'm a full rockabilly greaser, whatever. Like I really embrace those temporary identities. And it's funny because some people would just absolutely hate on that. Oh, who are you going to be this week? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what to say about that. I never wanted to stop the illusion to embrace a greater illusion. That always bothers me. It bothers me when we double down on this one identity at the cost of being able to experience the world in any way that it comes to me. And I think that's where I see people who have the hardest time with somebody else changing, is that they have an impossible task ahead of them to allow themselves to change. In their mind, it's an insurmountable thing. You don't just change. People say it all the time. Cat Williams, the comedian, I saw an interview and he was asked, what's the worst advice you were ever given? And he said, don't ever change. Don't ever change is the worst advice I was ever given. And so I actually had a poem, and I read this poem in Recovering Awareness last night, which if you're not familiar at all, which I'm guessing you're not, on Monday nights, I have a program. Actually, it's funny. I have the flyer right here. This is unintentional, but I'm going to show it anyway. It's called Recovering Awareness. It's a meditation-based recovery group, and it's in person here in Cave Junction, Oregon. But also, if you would like to join, we do it through Zoom as well. And you can find that on any of the places where you may have found this link. But yeah, it's a meditation and contemplation-based recovery program to recover our self-awareness, our awareness of who we truly are underneath all of the failed experiments. And I read this poem last night by Mary Oliver. It's one of my all-time favorite poets. And it really moves around this same sphere of thought about identities and who we think we are at any moment. It's called Reckless Poem. And I'm reading it from the New and Selected Poems, Volume 2 by Mary Oliver. It's a really awesome 2-volume set in paperback that you can get pretty inexpensively at your local bookstores. Today again, I am hardly myself. It happens over and over. It is heaven sent. It flows through me like the blue wave. Green leaves, you may believe this or not, have once or twice burst from the tips of my fingers, somewhere deep in the woods in the reckless seizure of spring. Though, of course, I also know that other song, the sweet passion of oneness. Just yesterday I watched an ant crossing a path through the tumbled pine needles she toiled, and I thought, she will never live another life but this one. And I thought, if she lives her life with all her strength, is she not wonderful and wise? And I continued this up the miraculous pyramid of everything until I came to myself. And still, even in these northern woods, on these hills of sand, I have flown from the window of myself to become white heron. gray whale, fox, hedgehog, camel. Oh, sometimes already my body has felt like the body of a flower. Sometimes already my heart is a red parrot, perched among strange, dark trees, flapping and screaming. The poem grabbed me right away in the beginning, and I talked about this in Recovering Awareness last night, but that beginning stanza, today again I am hardly myself, it happens over and over, it is heaven sent. You know, in our culture, one of the things that we most often say to diminish somebody or to discount them or invalidate them is to say they've lost their mind. They've lost it, man. You know, you're in an argument with someone and have you lost your mind? You are out of it, man. You've lost it. And yet, here's this poem that re-emphasizes losing it is heaven sent. Losing yourself. Losing your sense of, I am this one thing. Well, I am bulletproof. I have wings. Your bullets don't touch me. You know, the childhood thing. Lose it. Then let it go. Okay, now I'm this thing, and you're this thing, and now I'm this and you're that. And what if I was like this? You know, this is the way children play for a reason. Because they haven't yet had it beaten out of their system that it can be fun to be here. That it can be a lovely time that we spend in very short. Sometimes we just need to recognize that even my soul is dancing. And even if my body isn't, I'm not the body. So it's okay. Just play with it. That's what I've been thinking about the last couple days. It doesn't mean that I'm not living up to my obligations and responsibilities and doing it with joy and happiness. In fact, the recognition that it's temporary and it's all going away makes me embrace it even more. I love it. I love when I get to turn on this program in the morning and hit play on the song. It does make me happy to be here because there's not going to be many more of these. Right? Even if there's 1,000 more, that's not many. Even if there's 1,000,000 more, how many is that? Think of when you're a child and you have a handful of change and there's a bowl of candy and you just put the change on the counter. How many can I get for this many? You know, is that a lot? Is that a little? Because 2 minutes feels like a long time when you're waiting on a response, but it doesn't feel long at all when you're saying goodbye. So let's take a moment together before we say goodbye this morning. And let's do some breathing. This morning I'm choosing same story. I purchased a bulk of this person's work, and they gave me permission to use them on the morning sit for forever. This is by Wave Source, and it's a 396 hertz root chakra activation piece. But I've been playing it recently on the show because it fits exactly what I'm trying to do. And that's the best thing, when we can find those pieces that fit our puzzle. So Let your body and your mind just come into a place of oneness. And to do that most easily, pardon me, most easily, and just bring our thought to the breath, breathing in and breathing out. This practice of yoga, union, of coming together, is a practice of breathing. It's that simple. It's just a devotional practice to the breath. So everything that we want to do right now is going to facilitate being with the breath. Wherever you are, whatever position your body needs to be in, finding your meditation posture is finding that place of balance, the least amount of stress or strain, to just find stillness and invite silence in the mind. Stillness in the body. Breathing in and breathing out. If you breathe in through the nose to the bottom of the belly, you'll find everything begins to shift. Just find that place where you start to experience the vastness of who you are. Beyond the body, beyond the thoughts, you can swim in this openness that you find. Even if just a moment at a time, that's all you really have anyway. And just like that, keep it going if you'd like. Thank you for taking time to be here this morning to share this space. If you'd like to join us, you can find us on Zoom each morning around 8:15 or so a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can get those links on the Journey Home Meditation Facebook page or the Journey Home Sangha Facebook group. All right, everyone. Be well. Hariom.